What's up, agency owners? Jason Swenk here. And on today's episode, I bring on an agency owner that's only been doing the agency for 3 years and has already grown a huge agency where a lot of you would like to be. And they really have created this singular mission. And we're going to talk about a lot of what's worked for them and what's not worked for them. So this is a really good episode. I hope you enjoy. Hey, Ben, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to have you on. So, for the audience, tell us who you are and what do you do?
I'm Ben Worthen. I'm the CEO of a company called Message Lab, and we are a content agency, which can mean all things to all people, but we have a very narrow focus. Specifically, we're focused on using journalism and that kind of storytelling to help our clients communicate with the people that they want to reach outside of a sales opportunity. So if you think about the world in terms of when you want to buy something and when you don't want to buy something, a kind of binary reductive way of thinking, if you're anything like me, I want to buy something 5, 10% of the time. And when I do, having someone come to me and give me a product information is really valuable, super helpful. But most of the time, I'm just a person in the world who wants to be entertained, I want to be informed, I want to be engaged somehow, I want to flip through stuff on my phone, I want to surf around, I want to listen to something cool. And our belief is that companies that are focused on trying to sell you something all the time, which is like most companies all the time, they're just missing so many opportunities. 90, 80% of the chances that they have to engage with you and have some sort of meaningful interaction around an idea. So that's where we come in, and that's where this background that we have in journalism and some other things that we do, which I'm happy to talk about, come into play, and where we think that we can create opportunities for meaningful interactions that over time are going to pay off for the companies that we work with.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good mindset and a good, North Star to kind of follow because, I would always, as I was training my sales team or as I'm, helping out the mastermind members, I'm like, look, you're not selling anybody anything. You're positioning what they actually need. But if you're trying
Mhm.
to sell them something, you've already lost. And you got to ask the right questions and really kind of position it in a way where, hey, let's just jump on a call. Let's see if we can work together, see if I can help you out, see if I understand your problem. And then if we do, and we both agree, then I'll tell you how we can work together. And it just kind of just takes down everybody's fences and then be like, all right, cool. That sounds good.
Yeah, exactly. And imagine doing that in a digital environment where it's still a one to many interaction. There's the number of times, like a banner ad as an example for a product is like the ultimate spray and pray, experience where it's super cheap, it doesn't cost much to make and it doesn't cost much to get it in front of somebody. But, if you're lucky, 1% of people are going to be interested in it at any given time. And so our whole mindset, and so I'll back up for a moment. Early in my career, for most of my career, I was a newspaper reporter, a journalist. I worked at the Wall Street Journal, and I was someone who, day in and day out, had companies come in and just try to pitch me, and it was always this schlocky marketing message, and I would sit there very politely, but in my head, I'm thinking like, this is BS. Nobody cares. How on earth is this going to be interesting to people? And and I was someone who was being paid essentially to listen and and hear out people. And when I made my own transition into marketing, I think I brought with me some of that disdain for the way marketing has always been done, and in particular this notion of like people just don't care. People don't care about what you're trying to say most of the time, and if you think about what you try to do as a journalist, you're sitting there trying to think about like, well, how can I make someone care? What's the story? I think this thing is cool. I think this guy Jason's got this great story. How do I tell it in a way that's going to be interesting to people? And that's sort of the filter through which you run everything. And as I spent more time in marketing, what actually happened was I gained a huge amount of respect for the rigor, the discipline, the analysis, the process, everything that goes into doing marketing on behalf of a big entity. But I still couldn't let go of that notion of like, but come on, let's just make stuff that people care about, that's going to be valuable to you. And when you're describing, working with your team, you're talking about, you know, trying to create a moment that's valuable for the person on the other end of the phone call in that moment. And what we're trying to do with our clients is do that same thing digitally. Do that same thing in a one to many scenario where you're making stuff and putting it out into the world. That the goal of it is to be cool. The goal of it is to be valuable. The goal of it is to, you know, find someone who has a problem and give them an answer that's going to help them. It's not really about your product. Or to find someone who's curious about a topic and inspire them. You know, they don't know that they're looking for it, maybe, but it finds them and it creates a moment of value for them. And then, you know, from there, that's where the marketing part kind of kicks in. You know, what do you do with it? How do you make it part of your go to market motion? How do you integrate it into, you know, the data collection and aggregation of everything else that you're trying to do so you can not just like make cool stuff and pat each other on the back because like, wow, that was so cool. We love it. Shiny, but it's doing something for you. It's valuable, and you can look at you can go to your boss at the end of the year, and you can, you know, put up a slide that has some data points that shows what you've accomplished through making that kind of content.
Yeah, and I think it's, you know, when you're trying to, you know, reach out to people and you know, why is it important and share and care, it's not about caring for everyone. It's actually about like trying to push the people that you don't care about away and
Yeah.
create this little segment that you actually care about, and then show them empathy and understanding and a little bit of authority and show them a plan. And I think you can destroy it. I think most people try to be like, I'm this for everyone. And I'm like, you're this for no one when you
Mhm.
actually try to do that. And they just have a hard time wrapping their brain around it. I mean, that's, you know, we were talking in the pre-show, like you've grown your agency fairly quick, and you're like, well, is that impressive? I was like, yeah. Some people wait a decade to get to where you're at. Some people never even get close to it. So it's about like when I find when there's a turning point in the agency owner, their mindset shift a little bit, that's when their agency can really excel. And it's not all like, you know, like you said, it's not all about sales. It's about so much more in order to grow the agency. Do you agree?
Yeah, well, the funny thing listening to your description is the thing that I feel has propelled our growth is just looking at this challenge of, you know, how do you effectively communicate with people in these non-sales moments? And it's doing exactly what you said, which is, you know, you don't care about everybody. You care about people that you're trying to reach, and those people are somewhat narrow. My mom, I always use this example, but my mom loves me dearly. And if I do something, she's gonna read it. She's gonna check it out. She's gonna watch the video that I
My
put
mom
out.
is the
And like,
same way.
yeah, and like, you know, and she's gonna listen to this podcast. But, you know,
Say
she's
hi,
not gonna
mom.
buy
Say hi.
something. Yeah, hi, mom. But she's not gonna buy something from most of our clients, right? You know, like our clients run the gamut from like, you know, like B2B companies, and just like, there's no way she's gonna buy $1 million worth of software. You know, it's just not plausible. And so it doesn't matter to them if my mom sees it and likes it. But that's where, you know, to go back to our growth, that's what's been driving it. You know, it's not um I mean, yes, it's hard to make something cool, but it's not hard to make something cool. Lots and lots of people make cool stuff. And what and yes, we have our own way of doing it. We have our own way of positioning it. We can talk to you about the skills that we use in order to make cool stuff. And that's part of it. We have to bring together on our side people who are journalists and people who are designers in order to create experiences. But then, like, let's go back to that question, right? Like, how do you know that it's reaching the people that you want to reach? That's hard because it starts getting into how do you promote it effectively? You know, how do you target? How do you do segmentation? And then how do you know that that's working? And it gets into analytics and like, oh my gosh, now this is getting like crazy, right? Because
Mhm.
how do we, you know, page views for the web? That's like the first thing everybody looks at, right? Page views, right? Well, if you're getting a million moms, you know, coming in, giving your page views, and if that's all you're looking at, you're gonna think you're killing it, when in reality, you're not reaching the people that you're trying to reach. And then it gets even more complicated because, you know, we're not really trying to sell something. We don't want you to click and buy. You know, what we're trying to get you to do is we're trying to like create an impression. We're trying to prime the pump, you know. And that means that the key thing isn't, did you click on the buy now button? The key thing is, did you come back? The key thing is, if you came back another time, were you more likely than somebody else to do something that we want than someone who hadn't, previously had an interaction with our content? Um, and to do that, you got to mix together a lot of different people with a lot of different backgrounds. And so for us, that meant, like, yeah, we got to get people who could create the content. So we, brought in a bunch of people who were journalists. We needed people who could make experiences that people wanted to consume. So we brought in a bunch of designers. Then we needed people who could do the promotion and the audience, development and all of that. So we had to bring in some of those people. And then analytics. It's like, well, if the traditional way of doing analytics isn't giving our clients the kind of data that they want, we kind of have to invent our own analytics. And so we did. We hired a bunch of people who understood analytics and were able to grapple with this challenge of how do you do analytics specifically for content that isn't meant to sell people anything.
Mhm.
And so our team just started to grow and grow and grow as we introduced these new capabilities. And every single time we were introducing a new capability, we didn't really have a market for it. We didn't have someone who wanted to buy it. We just felt like in order to do this work well, we needed to be able to do this. And so we effectively, you know, brought on the team and built the team because we thought that the proper way to do this work needed to include the skills that they brought to the table. And then something that we've had as sort of a through line in our experience was, once we had the team in place, we could go either to our current clients or other clients, and we could begin to have conversations about the, hey, it's cool, what if we were able to do this? And
Mhm.
then only after we had the capability would we begin to have a market opportunity to do it.
Very cool. What's a big mistake that you wish that you've made that you wish you go back and redo?
For me, the biggest one, and it's so laughable at this point, was just thinking that this whole agency thing was really, really easy. Yeah, I had this experience where in 2018, I walked into the co-working place and it was like, all right, great, now we're a company. Let's see what happens. And I was lucky that I knew some people who wanted to take a chance on, hiring us. I always said it was us, even though initially it was just me. We're able to pull together teams, ran the whole business that first year on a spreadsheet. I had this enormously complex spreadsheet, but everything worked. The cells always added up. And things were growing. People were coming in. We were adding more people. And very quickly at the beginning of year two, 2019, we went on a huge hiring spree. And I think we convinced ourselves that we had the business model of a high growth startup, meaning that all we had to do was just bring on the people and no problem, no problem, and no problem. So we didn't grow smart. We just sort of found people that we thought were cool and we brought them in. And we also had simultaneously, we were growing really fast, but I don't think that we were growing strategically in the sense that we weren't selling the same set of activities, the same product over and over again. People were coming to us for a really broad range of things that broadly fit the skills that we had, and we were saying yes. And what ended up happening is, I think, was what I call weak growth. We had pockets of revenue that, if we took a step back, weren't services that we would really ever sell again. And that meant that we weren't staffed to deliver it. We weren't investing in through training, through time, through strategy in making that service better for our clients, and we
Mhm.
weren't creating a path for us to take the effort that we made developing that and sell it to somebody else. And so, when those projects went away, they just went away, and we weren't able to take that and transition into something else. So it took a little while to retrench. Our growth also vastly exceeded our operational capabilities. We outkicked our coverage, to use a football analogy,
Mhm.
and it meant that we had to do some catch up from a process standpoint, from a financial understanding of the business. Like, we just didn't have a great read of what was happening. We were surprised at the end of every quarter, which is not a place to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did a lot of work to fix those things, to refine what we did, to narrow our focus a bit. It's tough because I think we look at the world through a lens of possibility and opportunity, and I still believe that to do the kind of work that we want to do and we want to do well, it requires more skills, more people with unique capabilities working together towards this one vision. But now we're just having to be a little bit more smart about when we add that capability, why we add it, where does it fit in a roadmap versus just a like, yeah, come on, let's do it.
Awesome. Well, this has all been amazing, Ben. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you think would benefit the digital agency owners listening in?
I don't think this is going to be relevant for everybody, but it's what's got us to where we are, which is there's a lot of things that matter as an agency, and revenue is certainly one of them. Profitability is one of them. And we've adopted the mindset of looking at those factors as market validation for what we're trying to do. If we are trying to put in place a new product, if we're trying to put together a new capability, if we're trying to combine data and journalism and design and experiences in a way that people haven't done before, uh, the way that we're going to know it's working is if we're growing, if more people want the thing that we're doing. And so rather than thinking of revenue as something that we're targeting and designing around a revenue number, taking the model of saying, well, we have to hit this kind of growth as an indicator that what we're doing is what people want, and looking at it that way, and then designing the service that we think, that we believe is going to be the thing that drives us forward, and then looking at that, revenue profitability as the market telling us, yeah, you're right. This is the thing that you want to do.
Awesome. What's the agency website people can go and check out the agency?
Messagelab.com.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Ben, for coming on the show. And if you guys enjoyed this episode, I want you guys to make sure you comment, make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button. And I have a question for all of you. If you are wanting to grow and scale your agency faster, do you think it's easier to do it with people that are ahead of you, that are in the digital agency world? Because there's lots of opportunities that you have from working with a number of different people out there. But if you could be in a mastermind with amazing agency owners that are a lot further along than you, do you think you can grow faster? If the question is yes, I want you guys to go to digitalagencyelite.com. I would love for you guys to apply after you check it out. And if you meet the criteria, then we'll have a conversation and see if it's right for you. So make sure you go to digitalagencyelite.com. And until next time, have a swank day.